What's going on, everyone? It's Adam Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our DFS preview for the 2021 US Open at Torrey Pines. Craig, this is a new DFS kind of podcast we revealed last week. But we're back. I think it was good reviews. We're back for the US Open.
Yeah, basically, the plan is to go through the DFS slate, chat about it a little bit, chat about picks we like, general strategies.
Yep.
We do have both of our picks and sleeper shows out on YouTube. So we're going to try not to repeat too much what we've said in those.
Also, our preview where we talked about the course, talked about that stuff. This is more, we're going to go through kind of, I think, more our construction, our strategy, our DFS, what we're thinking from a DFS perspective for this week. We're recording this on a Tuesday, so a lot of time to get lineups in, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this week.
Yeah, it's going to be good. US Open always has its own little taste to it. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys try to attack the course. Sounds like Bryson's going full bomb and gouge. It'll be interesting to see if that's a general strategy, approach, or what we're looking at.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay, brand new, Craig. We have a DFS Grandstand Golf Listener League out on DraftKings. The link is going to be below in YouTube. If you're listening on podcast, the link is in Discord. The link is in YouTube, so you're going to have to go over there to find it. We're starting out small. It's 100 entries total.
So you're going to say $100. So I was like, just small
stakes.
Throwing
it out there. 100 entries, $1 per entry, max one. It's throw your best lineup in there. See how you do. I think, actually, I haven't even talked to you about this, but I think it'll be good to kind of look at the winner's lineup in this show for next week. In the DFS preview,
sure.
We'll look at the winner's lineup and see how they did it. Which I think will be interesting each week. So make sure to go to the DraftKings Listener League and enter your best lineup there. A quick recap from last week, Palmetto. Do we want to kind of quickly sweep that under the rug before we move on?
I think it is going to be quick. The picks I had brought up, or the plays at the different level. Matt Fitzpatrick was the one at the top. He did well. He was tied for 10th, but then I had missed cut with Lucas Glover, Bryce Garnett, John Pack, all missed cuts there. So fortunately, personally, I had a break-even week tournament-long DFS, so it didn't hurt too bad. But the picks were not the best.
There was not many 6 of 6s out there last week. Mine were Terrell Hatton, T2 was my high one. Then I went Keith Mitchell, Ben Martin in the mid-range. They were miscuts. And I actually went Aaron Baddeley, who was a T44, mid-6s, I think he was, Baddeley last week. I didn't end up rostering him though, so that might have been, I think I was a net negative last week, but Badley, who I talked about, I didn't really roster him, so kind of regretting that.
Well, and another thing, I think Aaron Badley actually was a top 20 or 30 or so at the US Open last time he was at Torrey Pines, so it's all come full circle.
It's come full circle. All the ones, we have one more range this week. All the ones I am playing, but okay, quickly. US Open at Torrey Pines South. We have the Farmers Insurance here every year. There's 3 on the South, 1 on the North for the Farmers Insurance. So just make sure if you are looking at stats there, you distinguish between the South and North course. Typical USGA setup. Craig, what's the famous quote that you said? Try not to embarrass golfers, we just try to reveal the best golfers, right?
I have never heard that. It seems like sometimes they try to embarrass them, but no, it's there. I don't kind of know where they've ended up here now. They have in the past talked about trying to protect par. That doesn't seem to be, they're more emphasized. The communication strategy, at least, is that they're trying to reveal the best golfers and kind of test all, the entirety of the golf game. But I don't know if they're necessarily doing the best job of that with the way they're growing rough and narrowing fairways. I think it really does start to skew things too much towards long hitters, but
that's another conversation for another day. But yeah. I do agree with you. I don't think we're going to have, completely lost greens where Phil Mickelson is hitting it, chasing after it and hitting it before it comes to rest. But I think it'll be tough scoring. It's moved from a par 72 to a 71. It's long. The yardage divided by the par, I think, is the longest course out there. So yeah, it's going to be tough. And there's not going to be, Kevin's bold prediction in our show was winning score 6 under.
I think so.
Yeah.
Six under or lower. And
that's aggressive. That is aggressive. I'd be kind of surprised if it went that low, but okay. General strategy for the week here, Craig. What are you looking for? Typical PGA week to US Open or a major championship, a little bit more entries. What are you looking for kind of just some general DFS strategies?
Well, I mean, the big thing to me is they make. I mean, first off, you have so many, like the entire top of the world golf rankings are playing essentially,
Yeah.
and so you get so much depth, which to me I think does start to favor balanced lineups. I don't know, sometimes I think in majors we can kind of feel, depending on players' forms and whatnot, that we have tons of win equity in the top, 3, 4, 5 guys. To me, that group feels like it's 15, 20, quite a few players who I think have a solid chunk of win equity. So, I'm going to be planning to go pretty balanced. I don't think I'm going to go too low with the bottom of my lineups.
Right.
So that would be my big thing here. And yeah, I don't, the size of it, you do need to think about just essentially more entries. So you have to get a little bit more away from just a bunch of all the good plays, all the chalky plays.
Yeah.
But I also don't like to go too overboard in trying to be contrarian.
Yeah, and I think remembering that there probably are DFS players or fantasy players that only play the majors. So they come in and they see kind of their favorite names down low. So when you get into the low sevens, some people that have been Adam Scott, Sergio Garcia, like the more recognizable names might just have a couple percentage bump because they are more recognizable, but maybe some more casuals. But okay, I want to hit you, Craig, with 4 trends here. The trends have been kind of tossed around Twitter from different sources, but I've kind of compiled a list of 4 trends for US Open winners. Okay, so last 10 were all in the top 30 official world golf ranking at the time of their win. There's one for you. They had a top 10 within their past 5 starts. They had 11 of the past 13 had a top 10 in a major previously. And 12 of the past 13 had a win in the past 2 years. But that one's a little bit trickier this year with the pandemic and all that. It's a little bit different schedule, so that's a little bit different. But something to keep in mind. Top 30 official world golf ranking, a top 10 in a major, a win within the past 2 years, and a good result, a top 10 in the past 5 starts.
And that's how many US Open winners?
I think to cover that entire list, I think that's 11 of the last 13. I think Lucas Glover and Webb Simpson, I think, are the ones that don't have all 4 checked. But yeah, kind of interesting. And I have looked at lineups where you can fit 6 guys all within the top 30 official world golf ranking. Is it my favorite lineup? I don't know, but it's interesting. Like you said, that balance. So yeah, I do think the balanced lineups definitely have some traction this week. You take away, the Brysons, the Roms, the DJs that are high priced and also have their own question marks. And get down to guys like Xander and Hovland and Reeds and Finaus. And I think they have, maybe 1 or 2% less chance of winning. But like you said, if you isolate the top 6 and they only have luckily a 25% chance, then yeah, try to get someone that's in that 75% chance that could win. I think that's what I'll be doing with a lot of lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I never like to get too into the kind of rattling off of commonalities between winners. I just don't think it's really a great way of trying to project into the future. I think it's an interesting way of trying to look at who has won in the past and what they may have in common. But I mean, to me, what I would like to know is, so if we're talking about the top 30 in the world,
yeah,
what is what kind of win equity are we giving to the top 30 in the world versus the next, 120 players in this field? So if the top 30 in the world have 75% of the win equity, then that's not entirely surprising, And same, like if we were to look at all of the players who have a win sometime in the past 2 years and see what kind of win equity they have. So essentially, it's kind of like a selection bias, a confirmation bias. I think you're kind of... I don't think it's super good at trying to project forward.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting to see what has happened in the past.
I'm going to remember that when you pick Bobby Mack and Garrick Hagel, the lefties at Augusta next year, and be like, oh, I thought you weren't into this whole trend thing.
But to me, that's different because I think
same course.
Well, and I think Augusta, and it's not just the shape of, I don't want to get too far into this, but I don't think it's just shaping the ball off the tee, but I think essentially, if you think about left shots, if a golfer pulls it, it's more likely to go deep. If they fan it, it's more likely to come up short. Augusta in general sets up better to shape the ball from the right to the left, which is more how lefties do it, and it's easier to miss long and right and short and left than the opposite. So I just think that there's coincidences, and then there's ones where like this starts to become trends, and you can use it to. And I'm not going to pick Bobby McIntyre to win probably, but I think that. I think likely that I would bump him a bit based on being a left-hander.
Yeah. A lot can happen in the next 9 months or so. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Maybe I will be picking him to win. Who knows?
I think we're going to talk more strategy as we kind of go through this here, but do you want to hop into kind of players of interest? So we have each price range. We've got five price ranges. Do you want to hop into it?
Yeah, let's do it. We're looking at 10K plus first
10K
off.
plus. John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Brooks Koepka. Big list, big hitters. What are you thinking here?
Well, I mean, so in terms of strategy, I'm likely not going to be spending a ton of equity up here. I mean, I love John Rahm. You know how much I think. I mean, I think John. We spoke about this on our preview podcast. I think all of us think John Rahm is probably the best golfer in the world right now.
Yeah.
So I think he's well deserving of the highest price. Obviously coming off great form at Memorial. He may end up in some of my lineups, but 11-2 is a very high price to pay for him. So yeah. What do you think?
We have 5 guys here. I know for certain I'm fading 3 of them. I've already made my lineups. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I'm fading 3 of them. I'm fading Spieth, I am fading Bryson, and I am fading Brooks.
Yeah, I mean Brooks is my one and done pick here. I don't know whether I'll get there in DFS just because with what he did at the PGA Championship and his US Open record, I think he's going to be popular there at 10,100, and so I just have a hard time trying to get on a popular Brooks when you can get some guys below him that I really like. And it's not that I really dislike these plays. It's more just that there's some plays down there in the 9K that I would just rather have the savings and be able to do other things with the rest of my lineup than spend up for these guys.
Yeah. The only thing with John Rahm, it is great form, great track record, all that. It does check the box. So I think he is the best. Like you said, we think he's the best golfer. But yeah, when you look at, high nines, you've got Rory, JT Morikawa. I can make an argument against any one of those, really, that they deserve to be 10-5 or higher compared to the other guys here, compared to Spieth, compared to DJ, compared to any of those guys.
Yeah, so sorry, and you have DJ is not a fade for you?
DJ's not. I got him. So I'm low on him. I got 10% exposure to DJ, but it's just kind of playing, the number one golfer in the world. Like, I think he did show a little bit of form last week at Palmetto to kind of show that he is in the right direction. I don't think he's there, but I'm willing to kind of give 10% allocation to one of the best golfers over the past 15 years.
Yeah, for sure. I hear you.
And then Bryson's track record at Torrey Pines South is awful. I sent a tweet about that at Grandstand Golf. You can check out those stats. But yeah, the person really of interest here is John Rahm to me.
Yeah, I think so too. And I guess the one we're kind of glossing over here is Spieth. And to me, I just don't know. Like, it's sort of a fit concern for me. He doesn't have a great record at Torrey. It doesn't seem like it fits him all that well. And so having him as the second most expensive play, to me, I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I think if you use 9.6, 9.8, I'd probably have some shares, but second most expensive is aggressive, but he has incredible form, arguably the best form with 8 top 10s in his last 12, I think it was. But yeah, I agree with the fit. I agree with, concerns off the tee, a little bit concerns on the green, perhaps with POA. Enough for me to find savings and, plug in a Rory for $1,000 less.
Yeah, and I think partly is the Torrey history, partly he's never been a great U.S. Open player, and I guess that is an absurd thing to say because he's won a U.S. Open. I mean, DJ should not have given that one away, but
putted.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. but his next best finish is 17th. So it's not like Augusta Jordan Spieth, where basically we chalk him into the top 5 if he's showing up there and he's not in a career defining slump. Even still, I think he showed up there when he was in his slump and had some good results.
Yeah.
Like Jordan Spieth's last 5 US Opens, his best finish is 35th. So that's where I really struggle with. I understand the form he's in. I think, certain courses I would be all over Spieth. But at Torrey Pines, US Open setup, I just don't love it.
I do think that these greens are small. Obviously, scrambling will have an emphasis this week. So I can see that, and I think it's a good contrarian spot if you do have a good, strong feeling towards Spieth.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's one of the ones where I think it would be a good contrarian. It'd be a better contrarian play if it wasn't a major with more general public money in there than people who are playing DFS golf week in, week out. Because I think, Spieth has the popularity factor going for him.
100%. Okay, 9Ks, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so we got Rory, JT, Morikawa, Xander, Hovland, Cantlay, and Reed here. Craig, who is sticking out as kind of the player of interest?
Well, I mentioned Rory in our picks show. He was my top pick there. I like him, but the one, I don't want to get into him again. So the one I want to point out is Patrick Reed. I think Patrick Reed, maybe it's not very contrarian because he's coming off the win at Torrey in what was it, February, I guess. I know that you are throwing flack at his win this year, saying that he really did it mostly on Torrey Pines North.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. Sorry, my mouse decided not to work there. But to me, it's a combination. So we look at his last 4 Torrey Pines starts: 23rd, 13th, 6th, 1st. Yeah. And his US Open last 4: 13th, 4th, 32nd, 13th. So to me, you kind of put the both together. It seems cheap at 9,000.
Yeah. So I agree. So basically how I build my player pool is I have the entire field. I cut it from 150 to kind of like 50, 60 prime suspects. And from there, I really dive into the stats, dive into the course history, whatever is important to me that week. And I didn't know what I was going to do with Patrick Reed, if I was being perfectly honest when I started building, but he just kind of kept checking more and more boxes, stat fit, history here, US Opens. And yeah, he made quite a few of my lineups. I do like it. And I think it is kind of cheap, really, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, I feel like the other thing with Reed is compared to the plays around him, he probably introduces more missed cut potential.
I think that's fair.
Especially, you look at his recent tournament. So even just say the last 6. So this includes the Masters. He was 8th at the Masters, missed cut at Valspar. 6th at Wells Fargo, 17th at PGA, missed cut at Schwab, 5th. So you get the high end, and then you get missed cuts at tournaments, fields that he has no business missing the cut in.
Yeah, and frustratingly for me, especially Showdown. For some reason, Showdown, I can't get a read on Reed. Hopefully I can get a read on him. I know that was good, wasn't it? You like that one. Okay. Yeah. My player of interest. So like you said, we're not going to repeat things from our pick show, from our sleeper show that I had Xander as one of our pick show. But the other guy I like is Craig. I know you like him too. Viktor Hovland. Do I have the right price in here? Is he 9,200?
Yep, 9,200. It just still seems cheap to you?
Still seems cheap. 6 starts in majors, all top 33 or better. And that's pretty impressive because 2 of them were his AMs. His US Open record is 12th as an amateur and 13th. So very good start to his major career.
And 13th as a pro.
13th as a pro, yeah. 2 top 3s in his last 4 starts, was second at Torrey Pines earlier this year when Patrick Reed won. And his best putting performance of the year came at Torrey Pines, plus 1.39 strokes gained putting. I don't know if you want to, maybe that's why he got second. I don't think so. I think it's this greens that he might be familiar with. I like to see that previous good putting here.
The one thing I should point out, we don't have his putting stats for Mayakoba where he won. So, his best one was that we have strokes gained putting stats for was at the Farmers. Potentially could have had better at Mayakoba. We don't know that. I mean, to me, yeah, you can say that he did well because of his putting. But basically, for these guys to get second in a tournament, you have to have a good putting week.
Totally, yeah.
He also gained over 2 strokes around ball striking. So, that's what Viktor Hovland brings to the table. He's just a stud. Only concern I have with him from a DFS point of view is ownership, but I like him too much. I like the value too much for me to worry about ownership. So he's still giving me my plays. I'll look for leverage elsewhere.
And I have noticed that our podcast keeps climbing the charts in Norway. So big Viktor Hovland fans, I'm assuming, big Grandstand Golf fans. It just seems to be all meshing together, Craig. I don't know if it's the Hovlands back at home. Well, thank you for listening.
Maybe it's Chris Ventura's family. You never know.
Maybe it's the Venturas. It might be the Venturas. Yeah. Ace Ventura. Moving on to eights here.
Yeah, I mean, the one other thing I was going to ask you. So, we've spoken. I want to ask you kind of how you feel about a couple of these guys.
Sure.
That we haven't spoken about. So JT, Colin Morikawa. What do you think about those two?
I really like Morikawa. I think
so you don't worry about the fact that distance is not is something that is more of a weapon at U.S. Opens and.
Yeah, I totally think distance is a factor at U.S. Opens, but Bryson said in his press conference he's going to have the exact same strategy at Winged Foot. That obviously worked for him, but nobody hit fairways there. And Jordan Spieth said this in his press conference today a little bit: is you hit the fairway and it just runs right out into the rough. And they don't think, it's going to be the fairway's going to be firm, but it's not going to be that crazy firm or with the dog legs where everyone's going to end up in the rough. So I think I am putting a little bit more premium on accuracy, and I think Morikawa is just super solid off the tee. Kind of what we saw a concession. And then it just comes down to, if you think he is trending with his putter, when he putts well, he wins. His ball striking is absurdly good. Small greens, best ball striker in the world. If he can,
that's a bold statement.
Where do you disagree?
Best ball striker in the world? You say that's not a bold statement? I mean, it's not like I don't think he's top 5 or he could be the best ball. It's just to definitively say that he is. I mean, we got a lot of good ball strikers out there.
Yeah, but he seems to be at the top. I mean, just approaching off the tee, he seems to be at the top for most measured units, however long you want to measure for. He seems to be at the top there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. I'm not saying it's a strong disagree from me. I'm just saying that to just stamp it without debate, you could say arguably the best ball striker in the world. So just real quick, 35th missed cut in his 2 U.S. Open starts. So I'm not saying I like Morikawa. I think he's an absolute stud. I don't know for sure if I'm getting there this week. I love where the ball's striking at. I think his tee to green game, if you look at the last however many weeks, it's just on fire. I'll have to decide whether I can buy it. He's essentially averaging two strokes on approach over his past 4 tournaments, which is just bonkers. And almost a full stroke off the tee. So the ball striking's in a really good spot.
It's all really good. So JT,
I mean, a 24-year-old, do you just ignore the fact that he hasn't had the U.S. Open? I mean, Bryson had no real U.S. Open success until he went out and won
success. Kind of no major success, I would say.
Yeah.
JT, I think, is searching a little bit, and I'm not willing to. I really like Rory. I really like Colin. So JT just kind of was that. You have to make cuts, and he was a cut for me.
So I think I'm struggling with JT as well. He doesn't have the best Torrey Pines record. He doesn't have the best U.S. Open record. I mean, he doesn't really. I think he's someone you could say has underperformed in majors generally. But because of all those things, is he being slept on a bit? That's what I don't know. And so do I try to make a contrarian play there? Last one, I want to bring up Patrick Cantlay.
Okay. This is just turned into our live show pretty much. Okay.
Well, it is, but I mean, especially at the top here, I think that all of these guys are kind of worth discussion.
Yeah.
So Patrick Cantlay, the win that some people want to put an asterisk on last time we saw him at Memorial, he had been in the wilderness for a little while. Mm-hmm. He is a Southern California boy. Mm-hmm. He does have a lot of success on polo grass. Do you love the value? Do you think he's going to be absolutely jumped on by everyone? And so you're kind of concerned about ownership at all?
here's just what happened. He's priced at 9,100. I'm a Cantlay fan. He was my boy at the start of the season when we talked about the guys that we were kind of keeping an eye on, and I would love to see him get his first major, but it's Morikawa. This is in terms of salary. Morikawa, Xander, Viktor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, Patrick Reed, Tony Finau. I have all those guys, and I can't have all of them. So Cantlay was the one that didn't fit into the lineups I was making. So I'll be happy if he wins, but it's not going to make me money.
Yeah. So 3 starts at Torrey, miscut, 51st miscut.
Yeah.
I mean, Cantlay has had a tumultuous career. So the years that has happened, I don't give, there's some people where I'm like, oh man, like he shouldn't have those kind of results. But with Cantlay, I'm like, okay, well, the first one he was 20. The next couple, I don't know where in his back issues he was, so I don't look as deep into that. Four US Open starts, best finish 21st. So I think that for someone that we think has major championship game, we haven't really seen it happen at a US Open yet. Maybe this is the week we see it. I think, I don't know quite yet where I'm going to land. I definitely will be cheering for him if he's in contention.
Sure.
But from a DFS point of view, I haven't quite gotten there.
Yeah. Okay. 8Ks. Here we go. 8Ks. So from our shows, Tony Finau was one of my picks. My pick to win. He's a one and done. Spoken about him at length. Louis Oosthuizen at 8,100 was one of your picks.
Mm-hmm.
So who is someone else in this range that is sticking out to you, Craig?
I like Hideki. Hideki Matsuyama is 8,800. I think it's most of what I'm looking at for this is recent Torrey or essentially Torrey Pines history, US Open history. But just every time he shows up to a major, he seems to be kind of top 30 at worst. The ball striking is so good. I don't know if he's getting the attention that you would think someone who has won a major this year should be getting. So that's interesting to me. I really like Hideki. I think similar maybe to Colin Morikawa, the putter is the wild card, and I think the ball striking, the tee to green game in general is in a good place. Maybe not similar to Morikawa. Hasn't been on scorching hot over the past 4 weeks, but still the ball striking has been good. Everything hasn't really just come together for him, but I think the potential there is good upside, very, very safe downside, it feels like.
I think there was a good argument being made that possibly you have maybe some guys a little bit more familiar with Poa greens, and they might put them better kind of week in, week out. But an argument that it kind of neutralizes the feel a little bit because the ball is going to bounce around a little bit, especially later in the day. So for bad putters, it might bounce in, it might bounce out as per usual. Or for good putters, it might go in or it might bounce out. Like it's a little bit more up in the air. And I think I'd have to dive into Hideki a little bit, but I think he does play these greens fairly well. I mean, compared to his kind of baseline as putting. He does have a third here at Torrey Pines. So yeah, I mean, I like Hideki as well. And I think he is being a little bit slept on.
So last 4 US, I mean, the things I like to see, I mean, we talked about it with Xander because it's absurd, his record, where he has not been outside the top 6 in a US Open. But even Hideki, so last 4 years, 2nd, 16th, 21st, 17th. It means that, like, he's not, those are top, I guess 20%ish, 15%ish of the field every time he shows up. That's pretty good. And then, you get the times that he pops up there. I just think that 88, I mean, I guess I'm saying that about a lot of these guys and you have to price people throughout, but I just like the value for Hideki at 88.
Yeah. Okay. So some guy I'm looking at, player of interest for me in any case, Scotty Scheffler, 8,500. Let's go with this, Craig. Arguably the most accurate bomber off the tee, you want to say? Basically, he's top 50.
I give that to Viktor Hovland personally.
Okay, that's fair. He's also my player of interest, so you're subbing in one for another. I don't really care. But he is top 50 in both driving distance and driving accuracy. I think that is a huge advantage. Distance is an advantage. Accuracy is an advantage. He has both of them. He's coming off a third at the Memorial. His last 4 majors, he is top 20s in all of them, including top 10s at the PGA. He had to withdraw last year at Winged Foot because of the positive COVID-19 test, so he doesn't have that recent US Open experience. That's kind of unfortunate. I would like to see, because those are also POA greens. It would be interesting to see how he did at Winged Foot with the US Open rough, USGA layout, all that kind of stuff. But he does have good recent performances in majors. The blemish that I see here, and perhaps why he might be more of a wild card, and obviously why he's priced down closer to average, is I'm not sure about the Torrey record and the West Coast record as well. I think he does, and probably later in his career will have a game that kind of travels everywhere, but he is still young.
Yeah, I mean, so first off, Scottie Scheffler actually is better in both driving distance and driving accuracy than Viktor Hovland. So I would say that you got me, but when you look at all drives, Hovland goes from 54th. So I think this is where like Viktor Hovland really stands out, because he's 5th in strokes gained off the tee, but he's 54th in distance. He bumps up to 25th when you look at all drives.
So explain driving distance and all drives.
So driving distance is essentially, you know, oftentimes it's 2 par 5s or a par 5 and a long par 4, and they'll take the distance on 2 holes. Every day so 8 holes essentially through a four round tournament.
And that's a stat that we see all the time on broadcast. That's the
driving distance stat that you see. Yeah. Driving distance all drives is essentially the shot link distance on all par 4s and par 5s. What is that distance? And then you average those out. So I mean, almost always that is lower. But then some, like, for someone like Hovland, I guess he just doesn't bomb it out there. He doesn't swing out of his shoes when he kind of has those longer holes, because you see his go from 301.1 for his driving distance only down to 298.5 for driving distance all drives. Whereas Scottie Scheffler goes from 304.4, so greater than, further than Hovland on driving distance, to actually less than Hovland at 296.9. Now that can also be decision making. Maybe Hovland's more aggressive off the tee and hitting drivers where 3-wood or iron come into play. But essentially, it kind of, I like driving distance all drives as a better indication of, I think it's more accurate of how someone is as a driver of the golf ball.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
But anyway, Scottie Scheffler
is still good.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Like, I kind of had him as a penciled in as a fade, but you're telling me some good info here, so I might have to do.
It is miscut at Torrey, so there's definitely concerns there. But he's just one of those, you think about the leaderboard on Saturday, you think about it on Sunday, and you're like, yeah, Scottie Scheffler's in the mix, and then he kind of maybe fades to a T12, like that's kind of, I completely expect that, and I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with it. I like a little bit better, but that I'm okay with it. Like it seems both a little bit safe and a little bit upside.
Yeah, the other thing, I mean, Will Zalatoris is right above him. I think Will Zalatoris, I'm a huge fan of him. But he has been high profile over the last few months, so he will soak up ownership. So potentially a good pivot there. Will Zalatoris and Webb Simpson, both right between Hideki and Scheffler.
I actually think this might bite me in the ass a little bit, but I think there's a huge drop off 85 and down. I put Scottie Scheffler, I put a big line there.
So see, that's where I'd kind of been penciling my drop off at Will Zalatoris, but I have not done my deep dive on Scheffler yet. So,
but then I just have question marks with Berger, with Hatton, with Connors, and then we get to your boy Louis, who is
there's no question marks there.
Sweet swing and Louis Oosthuizen. Any of those you want to make a comment on? Corey Connors?
I agree with you. To me, I think that somewhere in the mid 8s, it feels like there's drop off. Berger has played well on OA. I don't know.
Well, he won Pebble Beach this year.
Yeah.
When I was doing some more Berger research, it seemed pretty. He won Pebble Beach, but it didn't seem very consistently POA positive. And that was just going through Data Golf's event by event breakdown. But Berger, he stung me a few times recently.
The thing I worry about, and I'm just looking at his U.S. Open record here. He does have a 6th place. I would guess that's 2018. I just feel like to me, so his US Open record, a single missed cut, he's got a 28th, 37th, 6th, 49th, and 34th. I just feel like I kind of expect Berger likely will make the cut, but I don't see as much top 10, top 20, and maybe that's me. I don't think I'm going to get there personally.
He does have 3 top 20s in the last 4 events, though.
Yeah.
He is playing. His approach is actually really good. He's gained over a stroke in those 3 events too. His approach is actually really, really good. But he might be a good contrarian as well. But he didn't make my list.
Yeah, this is where I struggle with Berger because, like, you know, he had 2 straight top 15s going into the PGA Championship, and then he was 75th.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, 8Ks going into 7Ks. Okay, who did we talk about for 7Ks here? So we already talked about Paul Casey, Kokrak, Neiman, Adam Scott, Bezaden out, Stuart Sink, Ryan Palmer. All those guys were either on our pick show or a sleeper show, and we kind of talked about them at length there. So we don't have to go back to those guys. Anyone else in this range, Craig, that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, for sure. Shane Lowry, and I don't think I'm unique in this. He's 7,600. You just have to love what he's done recently. Let me find the numbers here. So his last, let's call it 4 starts to start here. 6th at Memorial.
Yeah.
4th at the PGA. He was 65th at Wells Fargo, not great. 9th at RBC Heritage.
Yeah.
Even before that, 21st at the Masters. Like, it's just been really, really good for a while. Popularity with Shane Lowry, though, is what I worry about.
Yeah, I think he could creep into the top 5, top 8 highest guys owned. He's kind of that guy being talked about across DFS circles as the one to throw in this mid 7s range. Throw in Lowry or throw in Kokrak. But for good reason, obviously. His approach has been really good. Around the green, he's usually pretty solid. Putting's been pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, major experience. Check.
Couple top 10s at the US Open, a smattering of not great finishes. He has been 7th and 13th at Torrey Pines, a missed cut as well. So, you know, you got a little bit of all of it with Lowry, but it just kind of feels like he's a player who in bigger tournaments is showing up with his best stuff.
Yeah. So as we head down,
as we always like to mention, reigning Open champion,
reigning Open champion. Okay, as we move down here, I want to give a shout out, Craig, and I want to see your reaction here. But after doing some digging, we get into this area and we're like, do these guys really have a shot to win? Like, if they come with their best game, can they win? And there's a guy that is at 7,500 that no one's going to talk about and no one wants to roster, and that's Sergio Garcia. I can see you smirking a little bit. Okay, so he has done absolutely nothing in majors the last 4 years.
I was going to say, do you need me to read off the...
But as we saw at the players on Thursday, let's just count Thursday, when Sergio Garcia comes with his best stuff, and if these greens are a little bit troublesome for everybody and he just can close his eyes, Sergio Garcia can still be one of the best ball strikers in the world.
Yeah. So here is the qualifier that you need to put on Sergio Garcia if you're going to bring him up. So since his Masters win in 2017, he has 4 times made the cut at majors and 11 times missed the cut. So he's 4 of 15 in terms of making the cut. His best finish is 21st. So I do hear you. His driver is, I think, the best weapon in his bag.
For sure.
And his ball striking can at any times he can be the best ball striker in a field. I am staying away from it. You want to play the narrative. I think he sold his major soul to the devil to win the Masters, and that is essentially what he gets. He got his win. He can sleep at night knowing he's got his major win, and he's paid the price ever since. But no, I do think the contrarian aspect of it would be the major attractant for me. But
yeah. So real quick, positive pretty much off the tee in every single event. Positive approach in the last 2, positive around the green in the last one. So he missed, of his last 5 events, he's missed 4 cuts in a row, then got a top 20 at Charles Schwab. So maybe a tiny bit, an inkling of form. But all I'm saying is I think I got him in 10%, like very, very, very few. But if you want to throw in, Xander and all these popular guys, Finau, Lowry, and then you throw in Sergio Garcia, you could almost, instantly be a little bit unique or contrarian.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's risky. It's not without risk. It's a big red flag. But that's not my guy to watch out for in this 7K. So I got another guy for you here.
Yeah.
Harris English. Where is Harris English priced at? 73?
Yes, 73.
Harris English, 7,300. So those trends I was telling you at the top of the show, Craig, 25th official World Golf ranking, check. Previous 10 or top 10 in previous major, 4th at Wingfoot, check. Where he lost that ball, that was harsh, but he rebounded and got a 4th. Win within the past 2 years, check. Century Tournament of Champions. Top 10 within the past 5 starts. No, but he was in the final group last week at Palmetto. He finished T14, T13 a couple weeks ago at Byron Nelson. So he doesn't have the top 10, but a 13th and a 14th are awfully close. So he's one of these guys, if you do believe in those trends for a U.S. Open champion, he does check them.
Yeah, I hear you. And, I've spoken that I've struggled with trying to figure out who Harris English is, whether he's a golfer we saw last year, and really that is him when he puts it all together. And we've kind of seen him battling a back injury in the early part of the year here, or whether that was just him kind of at the highest streak. Everything's clicking for a little while.
Here, two more things for Harris. He's positive in every strokes gain category. I forget if that's for the season or for the year, but positive, no real glaring weaknesses with his game. He's played Torrey Pines 9 times. He's been poor recently. He has been poor recently, but 8th in 2018, 14th in 2017, and 2nd in 2015. So he does have good history here if you look at the complete picture.
Mm-hmm. And no missed cuts at the U.S. Open before. Aside from the 4th, though, 37th would be his best finish, but still no missed cuts, so that's something. It's tough to know what to do with Harris English for me.
Yeah, it's when you get into this range, they're all a little bit unnerving, but okay, a little bit. Okay,
he's someone that if I were to say right now, I would say that he doesn't have top 5 upside, but he was 4th last time at a U.S. Open, so he was also, his form going into that was different than I think it is now.
Yeah. So, just general going through the rosters, I think there's that 81 to 79 tier 2 I really like with Usti, Cam Smith, Paul Casey, and then kind of from 77, call it to, I'm gonna call it like right at 71 or 7,000. I think that's another kind of pocket there, and then actually pretty sharp drop off. Like, where do you think the drop off is where you want to kind of limit the bottom, most of your kind of lineups at?
Yeah, to me, it's the low 7s. I don't know where exactly. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of plays. To me, it feels sort of like 74, 73, 72, and then below that, there's a drop off. But I think there's a lot of, to me, that's where it's going to be made or broken. Unless you've gone super balanced and super balanced works out. Super balanced also has tons of ownership typically. So, there's a reason these guys at, Matt Fitzpatrick, Answer, Paul Casey in the high 7s, there's a reason that those guys will all have high ownership. It's because everyone thinks they're a little bit safer than having to go down deeper.
It is interesting though. I think the 7,200 to 7,000 range is going to differentiate the winner, the milli maker, whatever the winner. Because there's so many different ways you could go here. There's so many veterans. You got the Kuchers, the Hoffmans. You have the young stars, Bez. You have Hago. Grace has been playing well. Stuart Sink, Matt Wallace, Streelman, Molinari, Ortiz, Palmer. Like, there's so much here.
And then you've got an absolute wild card in Matthew Wolff, who was second last time. Did he end up finishing second? Usti was right there too. Yeah. But who based on the fit, he was second. You would think is a perfect player to be picking at 7,200 in this field. But this is where, to me, once you get, I feel like it's a little bit safer at the 75, 74, 73 maybe some of the guys in 72, but then you get to like people who I think have legit upside, but you get way more miscut potential.
Yeah, more miscut, but there's definitely going to be someone in the 72, 71, 7,000 with a top 10. It's just about finding that right person, I feel like.
And I mean, I already told you it's going to be Charles Schwartz also.
Don't know about that one.
Any other sort of really interesting ones down there that you think are worth a chat?
No, but I mean, maybe tease for our live show, but I'm skewing more veteran down here than I think. Still with a little sprinkle of the South African phenoms.
So you're going to be on Higo?
I think I got a little bit of Higo.
It's just it's going to be tough with ownership, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like that's I love the price, which is funny because when he was the same price going into the PGA, I thought it was ridiculous, but or a similar. I don't know. He might have even been 75 going into the PGA. It was high, whatever it was.
He's proved himself stateside now.
He has proved himself stateside. Okay, so 6Ks.
6Ks. I am basically trying to avoid here. I think you need a mini miracle for these guys to top 20, let's say. I mean, even a top 10 would be extremely good here. A top 20 is kind of where my expectations would be with any of the guys down here. So yeah, I'm very much trying to avoid the 6Ks. I think it just comes with a ton of question marks. And I think if you try to force one in, you have to be prepared for that miscut.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that came out of nowhere to get top 10s last US Open. Probably, I'm just looking at the things here. I don't have the prices, but Zach Johnson was likely the lowest priced person.
Okay, let's go down a little bit. So Wilco's interesting because he bombs it, I think, a little bit. Cameron Young won a couple events, I think back-to-back on the Korn Ferry Tour, so that's definitely an interesting name. Jonathan Vegas has been played well recently last week.
Lonto, who always seems to be a DFS darling down low.
Yeah, Lonto at 68 is going to get eyes, I think, for sure. Victor Perez, Wyndham Clark can push it out on the tee. That's interesting. Oh, and then, okay, 3 guys I want to bring up, but I don't think I'll get there at all, but I bet you one of them at least makes a cut. Justin Suh, your boy. We have Sahith Theegala, and we have Akshay Bhatia.
Yeah, the three sort of franchise mode rookies that you want to stake for the future. Yeah.
All Madden franchise mode for sure.
You got to feel like one of them's making the cut, I think. You never know, but there's talent. I think that's the bottom line. Is there's tons of talent there. It's just a matter of whether that talent can translate into results at a US Open this week.
Let's do this. Pick one from those 3.
I'd have to look. If I'm picking one.
First.
Okay.
I'll go Sahith Theegala. Local guy, has been playing this course ever since he could swing a club, so he has tons of experience here. I think he's a little bit older, actually. Like, I think he's 23, 24.
He's an old, like he did his full college.
Yeah, I think he was at Pepperdine, got, all the 3 big awards there. Yeah, got in from the qualifier. I think he's going to be he's one of my boys as well on our preview pod before the season. Someone that's going to be doing really well here on the PGA in the next couple of years, I hope. But I like his fit, and I like the fact that he's familiar with his course. And I think of those 3, he might be the most slept on.
Yeah, it's really tough to feel like I want to say this guy's going to make the cut, but I got to go with Akshay Bhatia. What are we getting him at 64 or something? I don't even remember what the price is.
It's low. Yeah, it's down there.
And you know what? He's missed 2 cuts in a row. I'm just looking at PGA numbers here, so I don't even know with any other starts what he might have had. But 30th at Pebble Beach, we saw him play
18 for 18.
Yeah, 18 greens in regulation. He's young. The potential is there. He kind of, if everything clicks, I think he has all of the pieces, and so it's I really, any of these guys are to me long shots to make the cut.
Huge long shots.
But I would say Akshay is the one that I would stake at whatever odds you can get him at a cut make.
Interestingly, with Akshay, He doesn't have any Corn Ferry starts on official World Golf Ranking, so he hasn't been dropping down or playing other events. He's just been trying to qualify, I think, for these PGA events.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, but with all that, player of interest.
Yeah, okay. Player of interest to me, I got EVR, 6,700. I don't know for sure if I'm going to make any plays in the 6Ks, but that would be one that is interesting to me. We spoke about him. I think he was a showdown pick for it. Oh, no, he might have been a tournament long.
He was my sleeper last week. He's actually on our picks. I had him 100-1.
There you go.
We
obviously saw the blow up at the PGA Championship where he destroyed a tee marker and endangered was not necessarily in control of his golf club or himself throughout the process. But then, he had a really good qualifier to get in here.
Yes.
I think he had a good tournament this past week. So he is someone that to me has the chops. He's competed in strong fields before. So I would say that would be the one person that, as opposed to some of these guys who are a little bit, first off, we got some who obviously they've competed in strong, like Henrik Stenson. Yes, he has the chops. Yeah. He has done it. He's a little bit more in the wilderness with his game. But then EVR's down there with a lot of kind of journeyman PGA pros that I don't, maybe they have a single time they're going to get a major top 10. But EVR to me, we've already seen him. I want to say it was WGCs where we've seen him kind of pop a little bit more. But that would be mine.
Yeah, and he has a fairly good major record. I think I brought him up before the PGA Championship. Scrolling down here, he's got one miscut, which was the PGA. But besides that, he's been 8th at the PGA, 23rd, 43rd Open, 2 top 20s at the US Open, and then 2 top 20s at the Open. So, and then the 3rd WGC Championship. So, he plays tough courses and tough fields well. But he did have a good finish. I think he will be a little bit popular this week in terms of the high 6K kind of guys. The one I'm looking at here, and I think the lowest I'm going to go is Patrick Rodgers. I'm going to take a shot at 6,500. So Patrick Rodgers is 28th in driving distance on the year. He's played Farmers Insurance, Torrey Pines 6 times. He's missed 4 cuts, but when he did make the cut, he's been 4th and 9th. So if he makes a cut, he does play this course well. But this is a guy in the 6Ks. With those 10 rounds on Torrey South, he has a plus 1.21 strokes gain total average. So he plays the course really well. He's a Stanford guy, and I think he just plays better. If you look kind of through his yearly, annual kind of finishes, he plays better on the West Coast. He seems to putt better on POA. He can push it out there. I think he's worth a few lineups to throw in if you want to get a couple stars up top.
Yeah, it is definitely, you have to find things to grasp onto, I think, down in this range. He was 12th at the Genesis. Yeah,
that's good.
He did gain almost all his strokes putting, but, essentially...
If it goes in the hole, it goes in the hole. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know... And this is where I struggle because I don't know if I'm going to make any plays. Even EVR, I don't know if I'm going to be plugging them in. I just really think, to me, there's the quality that you're getting right at even at 7 flat. I just feel like there's a drop off there.
Well, I completely agree. That's why I think 7 flat. You got the Bobby Max, you got the Poulters, you got the Schwartzel. I think is right there, one of your guys. I'll give it a little tease if people are listening this long into the podcast. But for our live show, I built all my lineups. I got 2 plays in the 6s. EVR and Patrick Rodgers, 10% each.
There you go.
I liked them. I was going with EVR. EVR is my boy anyway, so I was going there.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good, that's a good tease as well. All these ones that I'm waffling on and saying, maybe I'll do this. I'm going to be making my lineups tonight. So Wednesday night live show, as always, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on YouTube.
Yep.
We will be going through all of our plays and kind of discussing the whole field, Q&A, whatever people want to do.
Probably a little bit quicker through the field because we do have this podcast as well. Hopefully more of a Q&A if people bring with their questions, either ors, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Go for how long we ever want to go for. How long people are asking questions. Pilot episode went well for this preview or for this type of show. This is our 2nd episode. I think we're getting renewed for a couple more. I don't know. Got to see what the executives.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the executive producers, the showrunners think. We'll have to wait and see whether we get the contract. Might have to recast. It's going to be I like the format. I don't know. I don't know if we've nailed our cast yet.
Yeah, we got to get this guy out. We'll try someone new in here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, help us support the podcast. Go over, subscribe to our podcast, rate it, give that 5-star review it there as well. That really does help. We know a lot of you guys are loyal on YouTube, but we do want to see that podcast as well. Anything else to add here, Craig?
No, I'm excited for the US Open and excited to make some lineups here today.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening and take care.
All right. See you guys.